In this video, we are looking at the top 14 changes to iPadOS 14. You're watching Radial Tech, so let's get into it. So first up on our top 14 changes to iPadOS 14 are the changes to widgets. The new widget system in iPadOS 14 is a welcome addition. We do like the Apple Watch style complication widgets, and compared to the old widgets, though they're not as interactive, they do look and feel a lot better. What we really like is the stackable widget. We like layering our most important widgets and keeping them right on top of the home screen, and also allowing the operating system to decide which widget is most important at the appropriate time of day. For example, in the morning, you may get the weather widget, you might get a Siri suggestion right when you need it, and during the day, you could get the calendar widget while you're at work. Visually, in terms of getting information, it's a step in the right direction for iOS widgets, but in terms of interactability, we'd like to see them gain more functionality, sort of like mini apps that don't require you to jump into the main app to do more. A new feature, which is a game changer for iPadOS, is Scribble. It's not just a new input method, but a whole new way to interact with your iPad. Basically, using the Apple Pencil, you can write by hand in any text box on your screen, and it converts your handwriting into text. The implementation is very well done and very intuitive. You can just scratch over a word to delete it, or circle a word to select it. We found you can just write naturally and it understands really well. It's one of the best new changes to iPadOS 14. In addition to Scribble, Apple also added handwriting recognition and shape recognition to iPadOS 14. iPadOS now understands your handwriting, and you can copy and paste it like you would typed text. Or you can convert your handwriting into text and use it like you would any other text on your system. It also has shape recognition, so you can draw a circle or square or a line and it will convert it into a proper circle, square, or line. This is such a great feature, and like Scribble, it just works exactly as you would expect it to. In iPadOS 14, Apple has made it easier to access more app functions from a single location without switching views. They've introduced pull-down menus and sidebars, and we especially like the sidebar implementation, which floats over the left side of your screen. It makes it easy to get to everything you need. It's quick, it's glanceable, and it's easy to hide to get back to your full screen app. The sidebar brings a lot of information and menus to one space, and we find it to be a cleaner UI, and we really like the implementation much better than the one in iOS 13, which had a lot of the functions spread out at the bottom of the screen. Paired with the Magic Keyboard and mouse, it also really helps improve the use of the mouse on iPad. For this next feature, all we can say is finally, Apple, finally. Finally, we got a compact UI for Siri and for calls. One of the most irritating functions of the iPad has always been how a call has to completely interrupt what you're doing, or when you would ask Siri something for some unknown reason, this always had to take up your entire screen and get in the way of everything you were doing. We love that when a call comes in, you can decide to let it ring a few times while you finish what you were watching, reading, or doing, or ignore the call altogether if you're in the middle of something important. Now, it isn't a perfect implementation, but we think it's about 90% there. What we'd like to see is that when you query Siri, you could still use your iPad normally behind it. Right now, you can scroll around on the app, but you can't switch out to other apps. It is a compact UI, but you're still stuck in the app you're using, and you can't interact fully with the OS while Siri is engaged. In iPadOS 14, Apple's added some pretty cool enhancements to the Messages application. You're now able to pin conversations, so you can pin up to 9 of your most important conversations to the top of your message list, so they are easy to get to. You also have the ability to inline reply to group chats, so you can reply to the exact message that you want to keep it a little bit more organized. You can view replies in the full conversation or in their own thread for a more focused view. Another addition to group conversations is mentions. You can type a name to direct a message to someone specific in the group, and when you are mentioned, your name is highlighted. You can even customize an existing group conversation so you only get notified when your name is mentioned. If you've set up your HomeKit-enabled devices to work with the Home app, you now have several enhancements available to you in iPadOS 14. One enhancement to the app is Home Status, which previously was very simple and text-based, but with the new overhaul, Apple has introduced a more visual style for Home Status. There's a new visual status in the Home app that prioritizes the accessories that most need your attention and allow you to easily control them. You can see your temperature, your humidity, doors that are unlocked, and other things like that. If you use HomeKit cameras, Apple has also added some new features. They've added activity zones that focus on the most important areas that your camera sees, so you can be alerted only when there's motion in the zone you set. And they've also added facial recognition that allows you to identify people you've tagged in the Photos app, so you can easily tag people and choose to be notified based on that person. Safari in iPadOS 14 has become faster, more powerful, and more private. One great new feature is translation. Although it's still in beta, translation allows you to translate websites into 7 different languages. When you come to a website that Safari can translate, an icon appears. You can just tap it and read it in your desired language. With Privacy Report, another new feature, you can tap the Privacy Report button to better understand how websites treat your privacy. You get a report of the different trackers that Safari has blocked, so you get an understanding of the specific trackers that the websites you visit are using. At Radial, one of our most used devices are Apple's AirPods. We love our AirPods and use them day in and day out. One constant frustration with the AirPods, though, was when moving from device to device. Because we use them so much, we find ourselves always having to pair them to the new device that we're picking up. In iPadOS 14 and iOS 14, Apple has made it so that you can seamlessly move between devices without manually switching your AirPods. So if you finish a phone call on your iPhone and you pick up your iPad to watch a movie, your AirPods automatically switch over. Apple has added several privacy enhancements to iPadOS 14. There are 3 changes to privacy that we really like in particular. First, there is an indicator light if your iPad is using the camera or microphone. A green or orange dot appears in your status bar when either are being used. Also, now when you share your photo library with an app, you don't have to give open access to all your photos to the app. You now have the ability to choose what specific photos and albums you want to share with the app. And lastly, another great privacy feature, which is coming later this year, is the privacy information in the App Store. You can now understand the privacy of each app before you download it, which we think is a really great change to iPadOS 14. In iPadOS 14, Apple has introduced app clips. An app clip is a small part of an app that is light and fast and easy to discover, so you can quickly get what you need right when you need it. Why this is great is that you don't need to actually download the app to use it. Basically, this gives you the immediate benefit of the app you need without having to download the entire app. For example, if you want to order food from a restaurant you found on Maps, or pay for parking, or if someone shares an app with you for a specific purpose, it's great because you don't have to clutter up your home screen or take up the extra storage with an app that you're just trying out or might only need to use once. The next feature on our top 14 changes to iPadOS 14, it's another feature that many of us have been waiting for. In iPadOS 14, Apple has finally allowed you to set your own default browser or email client, although you do have to choose from a list of Apple's approved browsers and email clients. Next up on our top 14 changes to iPadOS is a small feature, but a really useful one. In iPadOS 14, Apple has now allowed you to use APFS encrypted drives, so you can now use your encrypted or password protected drives with your iPad. So lastly, in iPadOS 14, Apple has really enhanced the search experience. It's much more like the Mac OS Spotlight search. It's a more compact design that lets you stay focused on your main task and opens apps or searches the web with just a tap. One cool trick if you're using a keyboard with your iPad is to use the Apple Spacebar shortcut in any app, and that will pull up the search bar just like on a Mac. So we hope you've enjoyed this video on the top 14 changes to iPadOS 14. Radial Tech is a channel dedicated to the best in tech reviews, information, and tutorials. You can subscribe to this channel for more videos like this coming very soon. Thanks again for watching. This is Radial Tech.